So I want to talk about changing your course from working to live to living to work to playing more. Because if everything you do matters, and you're constantly living to work and working to live, and you're not playing, you're going into a vicious cycle of sheephood, right? This whole societal norm of following the flow, of working for how many years, and then we're going to retire. How ridiculous is that word? Like you spend 25 to 30 years of your life working to live, living to work, then you want to get tired again. So you're putting money aside to get tired again. So if 100% of everything you do matters, what are you doing with your time? Are you giving it away so you're actually paying to play? Or do you want to do the opposite? Do you want to play your way to pay? So 90,000 hours, a third of the average American's life is spent working. And if 100% of what you do matters, and you're tired of working, and then all of a sudden you're on a fixed income, right? So now it really matters what you do with your money. 100%. So we're using time, our greatest commodity that we can't get back, to pay to play. You're tired of work, so you're going on vacation. You have to pay for that. You get back from vacation, and then you need a vacation from your vacation because you're back to work, something you dread doing every single day. What if you were playing more? So what are you going to do with 90,000 hours? How do you find that path to purpose so you can play more? 98% of people die with regret. 92% of people go in search of their purpose and quit before they get there, which leaves 8% of our whole population of the human race that fulfills their purpose before they die. My name is Charlene Oesterling. I am the creative mind behind A Stoopid Good World, and I am the 8%. A Stoopid Good World is a mission to bring adults back to the fearless nature of childhood again and encourage kids to keep dreaming and keep playing responsibly. So how do we increase the 8%? Because that's the other mission A Stoopid Good World is on, to increase the 8% of people who don't die with their music in them. The 8% who are the world changers, the game changers, the example. The freedom finders that go out and put themselves out there every day to do what they love. And because they do that, they play more. Your truest work, and the only work you should take seriously, is inner. Because this environment created A Stoopid Good World. And I realized that at some point in my life, no matter how many people told me I couldn't, I was called back by that inner voice to go back to what I loved, to set a new standard, to break the norm. Who wants to be a normie? I mean, seriously. It's highly overrated. It's 90,000 hours of your life working. So am I suggesting that life is all about play? I sure am. I sure am. And A Stoopid Good World is 5 facets of tools, of fun. It's food. And I invented a jump rope, and I invented a jump rope that teaches you how to jump rope without jumping over a rope. All these things came from my childhood, from the greatest gifts that were given to me, from my internal coach when my basketball coach was negative, from people trying to motivate me by putting me down, to going to my inner coach, where I would go into a gym on a Saturday with my boombox at the time, my packed lunch, and my will to just go play and have fun, because it lit me up. It lit me up in a way that nothing else could. And even my high school basketball coach, who I played for 4 years, told me it would end. And apparently in 7th grade, when I had him for science, I went up to his desk to watch some game film of the varsity and told him, I will have a full ride. I will have a college scholarship. I will have a full ride. And he pretty much made my life a living hell. It was not an encouraging thing. Same thing with my college experience, but then I was blessed to go overseas and play. And I learned more about myself from the game of basketball than anyone could ever teach me. But the biggest lesson I had was that you can't let that define you. It was a vehicle. It was a vehicle that was taking me on a journey that nothing could replace. Not time, not money, not all the things I could buy, even if I was making $1 million playing basketball, which I didn't. But it was a priceless experience. One that I have no regrets on, because everything became part of my journey. I got to go through so many things. They became what I got to grow through. And when you allow yourself to grow through everything, you value your time more. Everything in our life is either a weapon or a tool. Think about that for a second. When you abuse your time, when you give it all away, it becomes a weapon of mass destruction. It wears on your body, it wears on your spirit, it wears on your soul, and you're way too human. When you get still and you use your time, when you take your own time, it now becomes the most powerful tool in the toolbox. No one needs a weapon. End of story. Every time you fight, every time you add resistance, you create a strength outside of yourself that depletes the internal. And it takes courage to go back and find that. And my most courageous times in my life were climbing trees, chasing snakes, and wearing my metaphorical superhero cape, which once I had the epiphany in my 30s that I took it off at 12, I'm never taking my cape off again. So 3 things outside of time. The first thing is acceptance. If you flip the script on yourself and you're now growing through everything, you can accept yourself as you are, where you are, and you need to ask yourself who you are every single day. Who am I? And do I believe what I believe? And people say to me, well, how do you know if you believe what you believe? You have the courage to challenge your belief system. Because if you don't believe what you believe. And the deeper you go down that path, the less chance you have to come out and play again. Even if someone knocks on your door, at 27 is the average age that people stop playing. And only 52% of adults make a conscious effort to intentionally play. Do you know what happens when you act out of intention? When you act in alignment, you get to play again. Because everything becomes purposeful. Every single thing becomes purposeful again. So the first thing that I started to use to get to the 8% was acceptance of who I am, of where I am, and the openness that I could go do and be anything, no matter what anyone said. When I believed what I believed and when I lived that truth and when I had the courage to speak it constructively to myself And to those ready to listen, I started to value my time. So the biggest question that you should probably ask yourself is, what am I doing with my time? And if you're not giving it away, are you using it constructively? Are you using your greatest resource, the greatest resource you'll ever have but can never get back, constructively? I'm asking you to keep that in the forefront or back of your mind, no matter how important it is for you, and to think about something that I learned watching a movie about near-death experience. There was a man who had accomplished and achieved many things before he was 30. He was married happily. He had kids. He was teaching in college, and so he was able to travel and take kids on European breaks and show them history. And I think he was in France. And all of a sudden, he started feeling this immense pain, and he had his wife take him to the hospital. And there's no doctors anywhere to help him. So he's laying there in pain, and what ends up happening is they diagnose him with digesting himself. He's got a hole in his abdominal region, and all the digestive enzymes and acids are spilling out, and they're eating him from the inside out, okay? But there's no doctor on duty. So at some point, his wife is at the bed sobbing next to him, and he's speaking to her, and she's not responding, and all of a sudden he sees himself, what he described, looking at a slab in a bed. And his wife was sobbing over this slab. And he's like, what is going on here? So as he's looking, trying to figure it out, someone comes in from the hallway, which he thinks is a doctor, pulls him out into the hallway, and as soon as he stepped out in the hallway, he stepped out of the light, and he could not step back into that room. And so the people in the hallway were telling him what was wrong with him. They beckoned him to follow them down the hallway, and as he did, beings started coming out of everywhere, tearing his flesh away, eating him, and he realized he was out of his body. And he asked for help, and out of nowhere comes God and the angels, and they pull him back to the light. And what they did is they sat him down and they showed him a video of his life. And after the video, he started sobbing, and he said to God, I think you've made a mistake. And God looked at him and said, we don't make mistakes here. You belong here, but it's not your time. You're going back. And he came back, and what he said about that near-death experience was, I was not being judged for what I did in my life. Contrary to popular belief, to religion, to everything you hear, I was not being judged for what I did in my life. I was being judged for what I didn't do. You'll have to see the movie to understand how he lived the rest of his life out. But every person in that movie had a different story about coming back. We have the opportunity now to be present, to not have to have a second chance to come back. What are you doing with your time? How many of you believe you're here to fulfill a purpose? How many of you know how to get there? It doesn't matter how. All that matters is that you trust that you will, if you value your time, if you accept who and where you are, and you're open to growth, collaboration with like minds, and a stupid good world of your own. So take that with you today. Take the question of time. Because we can all agree, we're not going to live forever, but we should do something that will after we're gone.